Welcome back, my darlings, to my next episode. Today we're going to talk about Birkin bag. So that's an Hermès Birkin bag, and one of you actually asked me to do this video. It's hard to actually talk about something that I personally never actually have in my hands, but for the reasons of being very one of the most expensive bags that there is. But I thought it's still going to be very interesting to talk about like history, where is the name coming from, why is it the Birkin, what is the story behind the whole creation. I think this is going to be very interesting, and when I was actually doing this research, I learned a lot, so I think it's going to be really nice to share that with you. If you don't know anything like about like story behind the Birkin, then I think this is going to be interesting for you. Obviously, when it comes to like high-end fashion and high-end bags, Hermès bags, I think they are like the most desirable, and everyone who is, who has this kind of status and who has this kind of wealth really want to have a Birkin or Kelly or any really other Hermès bag. But I think Birkin and Kelly are going to be the top, two. And obviously this is something that people who are like normal like I am, who can't really afford to have a bag like this, still are interested. But obviously this goal of having this kind of bag, for me personally, I don't think it's there. If I had a £15,000 or even £10,000, because you can find basically from about £10,000, then I would say, there is lots of different things in my life that I could spend £10,000, like maybe a really amazing holiday somewhere, and that's going to be always like more important than, let's say, buying a Birkin bag. But who knows, maybe one day, like when I will be 50, I will change my mind and I will be like, now is the time I'm going to treat myself. But that's a long way, right now I have a completely different priorities. But I can understand why people buying the bags. It's something that not everybody can afford it, not everybody can have to buy a Birkin bag that you actually dream about, like the color, the hardware and everything else. You need to actually wait for the bag, so it's maybe from 1 month to 1 year or even longer, a few years, because it's not actually easy to buy one. It's not just you're going to shop and you're going to choose which bag you want. No, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and I think for that reason as well, it's very like desirable, because not everybody can have it, So there's this kind of psychology behind it, that if you can't have it, you want it even more. Birkin bag has a very iconic shape, and it is more actually like an everyday bag rather than, if comparing to Kelly bag, for example. Kelly is more like having more structure. It's more, I would say, a little bit more maybe elegant. Birkin bag, it's like more everyday bag, and when you actually hear the story behind the Birkin bag as well, you're going to notice why is that. But it is a little bit bigger as well. It comes with a few different sizes. We're going to talk about this, but overall I think Birkin is more like a everyday and more like a casual. Don't want to say too casual, because obviously it's already very expensive bag, but it is more casual, I would say, rather than comparing to Kelly bag. One of the interesting thing is actually that it takes about 48 hours to make Birkin. So as you can see, this is not a process that is just production. It is a bag that is handmade, that every element, the leather, everything is very high quality. So it's not going to be, so you're obviously paying for that. I'm not saying that it is worth it 10 grand because, obviously, I don't think that even the company is paying someone so much to make this bag, but I understand that there is a little bit more, like there is in the price there is included someone's, hard work to do it all by hand, and I completely understand that, Obviously the other part of the money, it coming from the Hermès brand, from the branding, that it's very expensive brand, and obviously one of the most expensive, and it's very iconic brand that everybody really desire the brand when it comes to shoes. We talk already about sandals, we talk a lot of belts, so there is always something from Hermès that we would like to have. So some of the Birkin bags start, I would say, from about £10,000 or $10,000, and you can even reach 6 figures. So it just shows you how big difference there is. I think the most expensive, I actually found a picture to show you the most expensive bag, and it was yeah, the most expensive Hermès Birkin bag was sold in 2016. Birkin, made from the white Himalaya crocodile with 18 carats white gold and diamond hardware, and was sold in Christie's Hong Kong 30th anniversary auction for 208,175 pounds. Yeah, so 208,000. Imagine that, you know, to buy a bag. Someone bought a bag for so much money basically, that you could buy a house in UK. Or in Scotland, let's say it in Scotland, because not everybody in UK, not everywhere in UK you can buy a house for that, but in Scotland you can buy a really decent size of the house for 200 grand. So yeah, so you see, if people have money, they can basically buy whatever they like, and they can even buy Himalayan crocodile, white Himalayan crocodile, with 18 karat white gold. Is the bag worth it? I have a picture obviously here for you. Would you pay so much money? I would never pay so much money. Obviously I don't have this money to actually talk about this, like decide if I would spend, but you know, there's so many better causes in this world you can spend so much money than, well. But obviously if someone already has so much money, support other people, support charities, and they just want to desire to have something very, very expensive like that, then, well, it's just their choice, really. We're not going to judge someone by that, you know. Is the Hermès bag an investment? Yes, it is. So if you're going to buy a bag, if you're going to really try to keep the condition of the bag to the best possible standard, so most of the time you're not going to keep it in just on your shelf sitting and just to show off, you know, to everyone that the bag is there. You need some kind of structure inside the bag, so it keeps its shape, because if you're not going to put anything inside, like those kind of bags to fill the space up, then the bag is going to like sink, you know. So this is quite important as well, to invest in those kind of like pouches to like hold the shape of the bag, and you can buy them basically for this bag particular, especially for all those like more luxury bag. You can buy those kind of like a bag, little bags inside to hold the structure of the bag. And on top of that, you should really keep your bag inside those kind of like bags you give, the companies give you, not necessarily in the box, you don't need to keep it in the box, but those kind of like bags that when you're buying the bag comes with these bags inside, these white bags most of the time. In Hermès option, I think it's on orange or whatever color it is, but it says, I was reading that it's better to keep them in those kind of bag that they're not going to collect, like they know the dust is not going to sit on the leather. So you're just protecting your Birkin bag from, you know, getting damaged even when it's sitting on a shelf, because, you know, years are going to pass. You're not going to maybe use this bag every single day. You're going to use it for some kind of maybe special occasions. Then obviously you don't want this bag to get damaged. And if you decide in a couple of years that, okay, this bag was great, but I want to sell it and maybe even make some money on it, because every year the bag's getting more and more
expensive,
and it's in your interest to make the bag look as good as it can, you know, because even used Birkins are can get very expensive, and it can be a really good investment. You just need to remember that the condition is one of the most indicators when it comes to value of your Birkin or Kelly bag. When it comes to prices, obviously each bag is going to have a different price. It depends on color, depends on the color of the hardware, depends on the leather you're going to choose. You might go for some kind of more exotic leather, then that's going to be more expensive. When it comes to those kind of vintage Birkins, they keep the really good value as well, especially when they are kept very well, and they're not losing any, like, you know, they just like growing and growing when it comes to their price. What is actually interesting that I never even heard about this before, I didn't even manage to find their website yet about this, but you know, if you're actually interested in that, I'm sure you can Google it. But you can actually rent a Birkin for about a week for about $300. That's quite interesting, because obviously you can have one for some time for about $300 for a week. I was thinking about this. So if you would rent, for example, a flat in Scotland for about a week, you would pay £300. So this is just comparison, you know. I'm trying to show you that I don't think it's very expensive for a Birkin, you know, for a week, a period of weeks. So you can have a great pictures for Instagram if that's what you want to do, you know, and have a Birkin basically in any car you desire for a week. It's just basically finding the bag from some kind of company. And I find that this is very interesting. Obviously, probably there are some kind of rules that you can't damage the bag and all, or anything like this, because then you would need to pay for the full price. But it's an interesting concept as well, and I think, you know, this way at least you don't spend a fortune for a bag that you just want to even try first. You know, you might try it, you might think that, you know what, this size doesn't work for me, maybe I should go for a smaller one, you know. That's just great opportunity to actually use it as well for this kind of like a trial period. So let's talk about history behind the name of the bag. So Jane Birkin, English actress who was actually based in France during her majority of her career. She appeared in the movies some like Blow Up or Wonderwall, and she moved basically more towards like French French industry, and she basically became very famous, you know. That's the idea I want you to have in your mind, that she was becoming very famous actress. And although she didn't really speak fluent French, she had also this kind of passion for the luxury items and fashionable clothing. So it was very interesting as well, a person. And maybe in the future I will do a video about her, like full-length video. So Jane and Hermès chef executive Jean-Louis Dumas met by chance in 1981, but basically while getting ready to depart on an airplane. Jane was trying to fit all of her carry-on items in the overhead compartment, and she was carrying a straw bag that couldn't really hold onto her belongings properly, and everything came down crashing onto her. So you can imagine the situation. And then she started basically rant about like how nice her bags are not really useful, that this kind of fashion bags, they are created not for a carrier, so like she can't really use it every day. So she started talking about this loud, that what's the point, you know, of these luxury items if they don't really have a good purpose. And Mr. Dumas, hearing that, figured out that Jane wasn't the only woman that was actually complaining about this. So he decided to take this opportunity, he saw this opportunity to actually create something unique, fashionable, but also practical. Basically, Dumas, motivated by other women's struggles, but not only Jane, but other women as well struggles, he decided to create convenient design. Plus of the Birkin bag is a deep bag, so you can really put a lot of stuff in it. And that was basically the idea, to create something that is going to hold more things. So you can travel with this bag, you can basically use it for every single day, you can put documents in it, you can put laptop, whatever you want. Like, not maybe in this time laptop, but now you can really use it for a lot of different things, because it's very like quite a big bag. It can be quite a big bag and can hold a lot of really items, so it's very useful. When it comes to sizes, they included 25, 30, 35, 40 and 50. That's when it comes to sizes. So 50 is already quite a big bag, so you could really travel with something like this. There's really a versatility when it comes to sizes, and you can really choose whatever really size works for you. The bag obviously became quickly a sensation. The sizes are still the same sizes like what was created on the beginning, what is quite interesting as well, that there's not much more that they grow of the range. No, they kept exactly the same sizes. Now Hermès bags are basically carried by millions of women who really don't have this kind of issue now, obviously, of not having some kind of luxury bag that actually can keep all the stuff inside. They can keep stuff inside, which is, I think, really great as well when you think about this, that such a silly even situation could create such a beautiful design, such a beautiful inspiration for another like generation after to use it, you know. So that's something what I really like from this story as well, that just because she was really pissed off on her bag that she couldn't buy anything really good quality and like a luxury item, and Dumas obviously he used this idea and he was very clever about it, and he created something that it's now obviously million women really use it, and it's very, very famous bag. It's, I would say, Birkin and Kelly, those are like the most two famous bags in the world, and if you are into luxury items, then obviously you know about them. Why is Hermès bag so special? Like, if we're talking about even Kelly or Birkin, I think people put very like a emotional value to them. So because you can't buy it, just doesn't cost £100, you can just go into the shop and buy it. It takes there's always a story behind it, you know. So whoever bought the bag, there's always some kind of story behind this particular bag they bought it, and there is this kind of emotional feeling to it, you know, that, oh, this is my first Birkin, you know, or this is my first Kelly, you know, and I bought it because, I don't know, I made first, I get a promotion in my company and I could afford it, you know. So there is always something behind it, and I think that's really as well interesting that women have this kind of, most of the time, there is this kind of, you know, very interesting, you know, aspect as well of any like luxury purchase, because obviously if someone has a lot of money, they don't care if they spend 100,000 on a bag or a shoes, then obviously that's not the same. But if someone who really like save for the bag like this because they really wanted to buy it and took them years to do it, or they got a promotion, or they finished some kind of school and the parents that decided to buy it for their child, then, you know, there is very emotional history there. So I think this is why Hermes bags are so special. Okay, so let's say you decided to buy one, and so how can you do it? Well, first obviously you can buy a used one, you can find some kind of like a vintage bag, or you can just buy from like an auction house. There are, you know, places that selling already purchase bag that you never wear, but there are shops that actually specializing in selling Hermes bags, but they were like never used before. So those kind of bags are still brand new, but they are not directly from the Hermes shop. So this way, this can be like much quicker process, but it can be as well more expensive process than buying directly from Hermes. If you obviously want to go to the store, you have a right to do that. You can go to Hermes store and talk to assistant in the store, and obviously they going to help you. You will need to basically give them information, what kind of bag you want, which color, what kind of hardware, you know, all this kind of information. And this is the process when you're actually booking with this particular store a bag. So it's not that they're going to it's a little bit different than it was before, that you just like put in your name on the list and basically you were waiting, but it was like connected for like whole company. Now it's basically dealing with one particular store. So if you're going to a store in London, for example, then they're going to deal with all your situation, and they're going to wait for your bag, you know. So this is just a little bit different than what it was before as well. Before might take a month, it might take even, you know, or even less than a month. I heard stories that ladies, they were on holiday somewhere, they went to Mexico, they just asked, they said what kind of bags they would like to have, because let's say Mexico is a little bit cheaper than in US, and actually in 1 week time they already had this bag for them waiting. So there are stories like this, so don't take me wrong, it doesn't mean you can't get the Hermes bag, Birkin bag, let's say in a week. You can, but you would need to be really lucky. I think as well in maybe different like countries, if you do it in the countries when there are shops but they are not so busy, like maybe if you go to London, for example, to like capital, you know, massive city in Europe, then obviously their process will be, I think, a little bit longer. Okay ladies, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and see you in the next one.